There we go. All right. All right, all right, all right. Hello and welcome to Streaming Idiots from a remote location. Um, yeah, the audio may be a little wonky today. That may not be the only thing that's a little wonky today. The host may be a little wonky today, but it's a great day. It's a great day. Tom needs a better DJ. That's right, he does. Tom needs a lot of things. Coming to you from an undisclosed location. Actually, I can disclose the location, and you'll have to do an internet search in order to find it. It's Red Art, Virginia, Redart, Red Art, Virginia. You can see over my shoulders a little bit of the backdrop. I don't know if you can see the creek back there. It's actually an outlet or an inlet to the Chesapeake Bay, which is between Virginia and Maryland and opens into the Atlantic Ocean. So it's a really beautiful spot. And yeah, shooting towards a window, actually, I'm out on a screen porch. And it does present some of the challenges. And that was one of the challenges that I wanted to talk about today. You know, what does it take in order to do something like this? Because it breaks the rules. You know, you shouldn't use backlighting. You shouldn't use backlight in any way. But I remember, and in fact, this is a family, kind of a family home shared by my parents, and it was actually owned by my grandparents at one point. And so it's still in the family after, I think we said like 57 years or something like that, still in the family. So it's been a real touchstone for all of us. For me and my two brothers. I have two brothers that are slightly younger than I, although that's less important now than ever before. And so I really wanted to have that in the backdrop. And my dad, who was a real photography buff, would always talk about, you know, a way to lighten the face if you were in a situation where you had shadows on the face or where you were outside and you needed to do something to lighten the face, because otherwise you were just having a dark, oh, there they are, part of the family's going off to an ice cream social at the Matthews County Library. So it's a summer social. Anyway, so he said use a flash, use a flash, and that'll help, take the shadows out from underneath the chin and under the eyes and all those other places where you tend to have shadows. And the same thing applies to using a backlight situation like this. If you can do a front light of some kind, then you can have, you can kind of work with something like this. But if you don't have a front light, it's not going to work. And, there's the key light and fill light situation where you can talk about having all those kinds of things. But really, the idea is to get some light up there. And so, here I am at a house on a creek leading to the Chesapeake Bay. And I didn't bring any kit with me. The only thing I'm doing is I'm using my Microsoft Control Surface, which is essentially a tablet with a Bluetooth keyboard, and streaming with that today. We're streaming. We've cut our resolution back to 720p, still 2997, using the webcam that's built into the Microsoft Surface. Has a front cam and a back cam. This is the front cam. The back cam is on the back. And I thought about using the back cam at one point, but I realized it would just show the stuff that's on the other side of me, which is not particularly pretty. So instead of using the back cam, I've got a table lamp from a table inside the house that I brought out here. Took the lampshade off, and it gave just enough light. Maybe it could have given a little bit more, but just enough light to help combat the backlighting behind me so that my face is not just completely in the black. I also had to go into the Microsoft, what is it called? It has a special name here. The Microsoft Camera Front. And in vMix, using the advanced settings on the camera input, I could get into the camera's settings actually from inside vMix, and tweak the exposure and tweak the brightness and the contrast. I tried tweaking the white balance, but that didn't seem to have a benefit one way or the other. It just sort of changed the coloration. And yeah, I am a little orange. I have been out in the sun. I probably should have not worn an orange shirt, so it would be a little bit more of a contrast. The microphone is the mic built into the Microsoft Control Surface. It's just the Microsoft Array, so it's coming in, either on the left or the right. Maybe it's coming in on both sides. I think perhaps it's got a stereo microphone, and so it's bringing in audio on both sides. We're streaming 720p at 1.5 to the Facebook Eastern Shore Broadcasting page, and we're streaming 1080p 2997 at, I think, 3.5 to YouTube. We tried doing it all at 720 so that we could use the stream settings in vMix same as the first, but YouTube wouldn't take a 720p feed. It just refused. It wasn't like it was going to say, well, you shouldn't do this, but we'll stream it anyway. It just wouldn't accept 720. It demanded 1080. I didn't realize that. So that's one of the reasons why it took us a couple extra seconds to get live today, was to fix that YouTube thing. The Control Surface doesn't have an NVIDIA card in it, so it's not doing anything particularly wonderful there. The stats down at the bottom of the frames per second is 30 to 31. The render time is 3 to 4 milliseconds. The GPU memory is 5%, and that's pretty steady. The CPU, the vMix CPU, is 6 to 7%. And remember, that doesn't include the FFmpeg. It just includes the vMix. So the FFmpeg that's involved in doing any kind of recording, which we forgot to start a recording. Well, we'll just have to download it from YouTube. So we're just doing streaming today with the FFmpeg, and we're using that for the YouTube stream and the Facebook stream. And then the total CPU is running between 45 and 60%, just sort of, you know how it fluctuates back and forth. Now, earlier we were trying to do the 2 Facebook streams, one to the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page and one to the Streaming Idiots group, both of those at 720p 1.5 megabits per second. But the total CPU was bouncing up into the 90s, and I knew that was just a recipe for dropped frames and glitchy audio, and so we dropped the Streaming Idiots Facebook group stream and just went to the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page. So it's just Eastern Shore Broadcasting page at 1.5 megs, the YouTube page at 3.5 megs. Now, we're here on Wi-Fi. And again, the general rule is you don't stream on Wi-Fi. You just don't use anything wireless. It's just wireless is not where you want to be, not what you want to do. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're doing Wi-Fi. I tested the Wi-Fi here on the porch, and we're getting 78 down and 16 up. So that'll do. Yeah, we're not doing any graphics today. The idea was basically, what would an absolute, what's the absolute minimum that we can do in order to make this broadcast work. And so, we've got 4 inputs. We've got the camera, we've got the microphone, I've got the bumper music that played at the beginning of the show, and then I've got the graphics that showed at the beginning of the show. And that's it, just those 4. So, if I had taken more time, I could have put my lower third down there, could have done the Jaws of Death open and those. But again, the idea was a real minimalistic setup to see what could you do if you found yourself in a situation where you had to go borrow somebody's laptop and make a live stream. How could you do it? What could you do? Now, the one cheat that I did make was that the pre-show graphic, and let's run that in again. There it is. That's the pre-show graphic, and the pre-show graphic was on my Dropbox. So I was able to go to my Dropbox and download it there very quickly, very easily. And I'm also signed in on my Dropbox on this PC. So if I was on a borrowed PC, it might have been a little bit different. When I did that transition just a second ago, I saw that the total CPU popped up into the 70s. So, again, Microsoft Control Surface, it's an i5. It doesn't have a discrete graphics card. Has I think a 256 or maybe just a 128 gig solid state drive. That's it. So not particularly supercharged, but we're doing it at actually the overall resolution here in vMix today is 720. So we're sending YouTube a 720 feed that they're broadcasting at 1080. So that's the idea, kind of a minimalistic setup. Yeah, John says, minimum is a phone, and I would agree with that, except, I'm kind of a vMix guy, and I did think about bringing my phone in as a separate camera through vMix Call and being able to give you guys, a little bit of a live tour, but really wasn't able to accomplish that in time because my phone is on the charger, and I see trying to run another piece of software here, and that's not going to work. Yeah, let's see if we can't kill that. So trying to run an email program here, and that's not going to work. So the stream probably got a little wonky there for a second. Let's see if that can even out. And yeah, there we go, back down to 50%. Actually, I had a video that I wanted to show you guys. I'll upload it to the Streaming Idiots group on Facebook. But it was just a video of some of the fishing that we did yesterday. It was kind of fun. I'll just put it on my personal page. If you're my friend on Facebook or want to be my friend on Facebook, holler, and we'll do that. Yes, you can use your camera's NDI source with the app, but camera is on my phone, which has my camera, is on the charger right now. And otherwise, I'd give you a tour. This is a lovely spot. This is the kind of place you want to come and bring, 8 or 10 books and relax. And last night we went out on there's a little skiff back there, so we went out on a sunset cruise. That was a lot of fun. And that's the deal. So what's the news to come? Coming up next month, you want to, if you're in Europe or can get to Europe, you want to come to IBC. I will be there. I'll be with vMix there. We will be in, I think it's Hall 6. But if you go to vmix.com, it'll be posted right at the very top of the page. The vMix Funtime live show is coming up next week. So you want to make sure you catch that. I believe it's on Tuesday here in the U.S. And that will be their last Funtime live show, I think, before they take off for IBC. So you'll want to do that. Frank is watching from the American Tire waiting room in Los Angeles. Thank you, Frank. Glad to have you with us today. Other upcoming things, if you were just new to vMix or new to, yes, Chesapeake Bay, Rich. My old girlfriend had a family home next to the water with their own oyster beds. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, my dad, when he was alive, he grew oysters here. Kind of the great oyster experiment. And I remember the day when he harvested his first one. It was quite something. My dad was kind of a Renaissance man in a lot of ways. It was really cool to have him as dad. But after NAB in November, I think it is the 6th, 7th, and 8th. Don't quote me on that. Is a streaming summit coming up that is sponsored by Eastern Shore Broadcasting and PTC Optics and some others. So you'll want to make sure you get there for that. There'll be some great speakers there, including our very own Cliff Sobel. And Marie says, Tom, you forgot the most important reason to go to IBC. Well, the most important reason to go to IBC is to meet Marie and Jan. That's right. And Martin Kay will be there at the vMix booth, and of course Tim and Martin will be there, and I will be there. So it's going to be a great fun, and we'll probably have to pick a night where we can have an impromptu Streaming Idiots meetup and have a libation of some kind there in Amsterdam. So IBC September 14th through 17th. Definitely want to do it. Rich says, "Are we planning for NAB already?" Well, actually, NAB is going to start. It's going to be a little different. Normally, NAB starts on Monday. Next spring, NAB will start on Sunday, so that folks can get in. You can kind of use a little bit of weekend to get there. So it'll be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so that the traditional Streaming Idiots meetup on Tuesday night, the second day of NAB, may be moved to Monday night, the second day of NAB. So stay tuned on that for details to come. Where is the said streaming summit? Clint, the streaming summit will be in New York City. It will be at the, I think it's called the Dream Suites Hotel. But I'll have more information for you guys very soon on that. We're working closely with PTC Optics and some others to help put that together. It's going to be really interesting. Marie says, we've heard rumors that Spiny will crash the party too. Well, there you go. Bird Dog will be there. Yes, actually, Bird Dog will be adjacent to vMix. We'll be either side by side or back to back or catty corner, but I think the booths numbers are right next to each other. So expect that. I'm hoping for a little cross pollination, that we can share networks and we can get access to the cameras in the Bird Dog booth, and Bird Dog can get access to the stuff that's going on in the vMix booth. That'll make it a lot of fun, and a good kind of example of a real life situation where you can share resources like that. Marie says, PI Engineering, can you confirm or deny that? Oh, well, stop by the X-Key booth and meet the goat if you can find him. Well, there you go. Except Spiny is not a goat. Spiny is a porcupine. Yeah, I think we'll have to talk. Nobody has adopted a goat as a mascot yet. Maybe it's just that nobody wants to just assume the mantle of a goat. For those of you that are wondering, what's the deal with the GOAT? Well, the GOAT is the acronym for the greatest of all time, GOAT. So we'll see who puts themselves forward as the GOAT. By the way, just in case you're wondering, that the Streaming Idiots show by Tom Sinclair is the longest continually running streaming show about streaming in the universe. Yeah. There you go. Spiny's a hedgehog. I'm sorry, not a porcupine. It was the spiny portion that threw me off. And of course, yes, indeed, hedgehogs do have spines, and I did not intend any ill will towards hedgehogs in specific or in general. So there we go. How about that for a save? Coming up. From the Eastern Shore Broadcasting standpoint, we are going to be offering our vMix 101, starting out with vMix in April 8th, I believe. I'll be teaching that class. It runs 8 weeks, and we'll teach it in the afternoon, and then again teach the same content in the evening. So depending on what your schedule is, you can swap back and forth between evening and afternoon classes. It is fun to get to know the other folks in the class, and you end up meeting them in the class and then bumping into them at NAB or other conferences like that. So it's nice to get those kind of contacts going. The instant replay class, the vMix replay class that we're offering right now, is going really well. We'll have our third class tonight. Chris Jones, who is just joined Eastern Shore Broadcasting to help us with our marketing. Chris will be the administrator for the class tonight. So if you guys are wondering about that, I may pop in, but I'm not going to be able to administer from here. But Chris will do that, and he'll be recording the sessions and posting those up on Facebook in the secret vMix replay class, secret Facebook group for that. And that's how we make the class available in the vMix 101 class as well, is that we have a secret group. You can join the group. All the videos will be posted there. So if you missed something, or if you want to go back and watch it 5 more times just to make sure you have it right, you'll be able to do that. For those of you that have been, thank you, Dan. He says, Dan, it's a great class, by the way. For those of you that missed the replay class, we'll be offering it again live in January, is the intention. We'll have to confirm that. And then we'll offer, as soon as we finish this live class, we will be repackaging the live lessons as an on-demand class. And so if you'd like to take the on-demand class, you can take it at your leisure. You can do it all. You can binge watch it in a weekend if you needed to, in order to get yourself up to speed, or you could space it out. Each of the classes in our live session is an evening class running about 2 hours, but within that class are a series of different lessons. And so, there may be 3 lessons, there may be 5 lessons in a particular evening. And so we'll be breaking those up into their individual lessons and making those available. So there may be, 25 or 30 individual lessons in the vMix replay class. Let's see. Marie says, I will get a name out of him even if I have to fight him for it. I wonder what name we're talking about, Marie. You'll have to help me out on that one. Because sometimes I'm just really dense. It happens. It just happens. So that's the story on the classes. There are, I think we have one of the X Keys replay controllers left in stock. There is, Dan, perhaps you can give us an update on your giant shipment coming from Taiwan on those, whether that has come in or not. I think X Keys has a few on the shelf and the ability to build a few more, but I have got one in stock ready for immediate shipping if you would like it. It interfaces beautifully with vMix for the vMix replay, and the vMix version 22.0.0.67 has a template in it that will automatically populate vMix with shortcuts that are keyed into the keys on the vMix replay controller. One of the beauties of that is that it means that you've got a consistent product. And this is we're using the vMix replay controller also in the vMix class. So if you're interested in the controller, you can take the class. If you're interested in the class, you get a discount on the controller if you want. And the idea is that there's some level of consistency, as opposed to, I don't have it with me, but you know how I flash my X keys up, and it has keys in every different configuration. And you just I never know from one week to another whether that number 1 key is going to be an overlay, or it's going to be an image, or it's going to trigger a shortcut to do something else. I shouldn't have said trigger a shortcut, because triggers and shortcuts are 2 different things, but to execute a shortcut. And so it's not a standard, but the beauty of the XKE64, which is the model number of the replay controller from X Keys, the beauty of that and the template in vMix is that anybody that operates it on any other machine can sit down in front of vMix and it will operate exactly the same way. As we experimented, I think it was last week's class. I probably shouldn't have done this, Dan, but I did. Dan said he'll be right back. He's checking stock to see what they've got available on hand right now. But I did, the layout includes a number of keys, and I don't have a picture in front of me, but you can You can go to our store at easternshorebroadcasting.com and see a picture of it there. But the keys don't, I mean, the keyboard is capable of 64 keys. That's why it gets the name XKE64, because it's capable of 64 keys. It's got spaces for them, but it doesn't use 64 keys. It uses a number of blockers. And so what I did was I pulled the blocker out, and I saw that there was an empty plunger hole there. So I could put a plunger in it and a keycap on it, and suddenly I've got an extra key. So if I need more function than what I have standard, I can add keys. But the way it comes standard, it's going to be exactly the same as somebody else is using across the country. Now, there are programmable keys, and you can program those with shortcuts, obviously, any way you want to. So there is going to be some ability of customization. So Maggie has 16 replay units, and I've got one. So I may have to put my hands on some more of those 16. But the beauty is, was it just like was it the Civil War or the Revolutionary War, where somebody was making a pitch to the either the American Army or the Union Army or the Confederate Army, and basically saying, hey, it would be nice if you have rifles that had interchangeable parts, so that if you broke a part here, you could just take a part off the shelf and put it into that rifle, and it would work, instead of having to basically manufacture each part from scratch for each rifle, because each rifle was slightly different, with slightly different tolerances. So the same is true here with the X Keys XKE64 replay controller, is that each one is exactly alike. And so if you've got a series of 3 different trucks, and you want to have instant replay in all your trucks, you buy 3 different replay controllers, and they all work the same way. So it doesn't matter which personnel goes to which truck, they're always getting the same product. And that would be the same that you would see with a TriCaster 3-play or an EVS system or the Ross system or whatever. The controllers are all the same. Well, this does the same thing for vMix and gives you a very functional replay controller. Enough about that. Welcome, Tim. Glad you're here. So, enough about me. Let's talk about you. No, seriously. There's Byron. Byron, sorry about that. Sorry I missed you yesterday. Yes, actually we did. We caught everything. This is amazing little... this is the most diverse the bay has been since I can remember. We caught speckled trout, we caught weakfish, we caught blowfish, we caught a black bass, we caught a spot, we caught croaker, we caught bluefish, we caught sharks. That's 8 different species, and those and a pufferfish. Pufferfish and a blowfish are slightly different. So that's 9 different species that we caught. Most of them were undersized, except the shark was it was maybe about that big. It was what's called a what do they call those? A dogfish, but it looks just like a shark, except just smaller. But again, I've got some video of landing one. Actually, I didn't bring him on the boat. The last thing you want is a live shark on a boat. So I got him off the hook while he was still in the water, and I have all my fingers, although I did get a little nick there. Truth be told, it wasn't the shark, it was the hook that nicked that, but don't tell anybody. I wanted everybody to think I got bit by a shark. So Rich wants to know, do we catch any Coronas, Coors, or Buds? Actually, I think I had a lemonade. Truth be told, lemonade. Yeah, Marie's got it. As long as you got snacks. Remember, if you want to get mixed nuts, don't buy those in Las Vegas. They're $76 a pound. It's absolutely outrageous. In fact, I've got some lemonade right here. I know it's a solo cup, but it is lemonade. Oh my goodness, that's good. Okay. Well, I wanted to check in with you guys and just say hello and encourage you to keep on keeping on, push the envelope, as it were, and discover new stuff and share them with whoever you can. If there's anyone you think might be helped by going through our vMix 101 class, please shoot me a note, call me, drop me an email, whatever, or just have them come our way. And we will take good care of them and make sure that they get up to speed on vMix. For anybody that buys a system from us, if it's a system with vMix, you get access to the vMix 101 class for free. If you have taken the vMix 101 class in the past as an alumni, you can come back and audit it and take it again if you like. We welcome alumni to come back and take the class again. The same would be true for the instant replay class that we're offering again in January. If you're taking the class now and you'd like to take it again, you're more than welcome to. Of course, you still have access to all the lessons in the secret Facebook group. And for anybody that buys a vMix replay system from us, you get the next replay class free, or you get the online class free. So there you go. The X-Key 24 is, I believe, $139, John, here at Eastern Shore Broadcasting. The $899.95 is the list price for the XKE 64. So depending on which you're looking for, yeah. The XKE 24 is called the XK24. And it has, believe it or not, it has 24 actual keys on it. So that's good. So that's $139.95. Yep, there you go. And actually, I think that the euro to dollar is pretty favorable now, and shipping is not that much. So we just shipped 2 of the instant replay controllers to Denmark, last week. And I think shipping was, I don't know, $40 maybe. There you go. So Jim asks, so what are Rich or Ken teaching next? Well, we'll have to let them answer. So the XK64 retails for $311 in Sweden. Is that $311 American? That's amazing. That's like twice the price. I wonder maybe if it's not a gray market, where they're buying it at list price here and then reselling it at whatever they can get for it there. Goodness gracious. Tom, did you know American Tire has over 1,000 locations? That's amazing. That's the way to do the tire business. Dan says, try our UK distributor keyboard specialist. There you go. Rich says, we are teaching how to buy stuff from Tom. US dollars. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, definitely try a keyboard specialist. And, if you can't get satisfaction there, we'd be happy to help you. One of the things that I've kind of discovered over the last couple of weeks is that what we bring at Eastern Shore Broadcasting, what we bring to the market is for folks just starting out. We can help you make all the mistakes. We can't help you make all the mistakes that I made. We can help you avoid making all the mistakes that I made getting started. All the gear that I bought that sits in the gear graveyard in my closet. You don't have to make those mistakes, and so the cup is lemonade, Byron. The idea is that you can tell me what you want to do, and I can tell you 3 different ways to do it at 3 different price levels with 3 different types of gear, and the good, better, and best kind of thing, or the cheapest and cheaper kind of thing, or cheaper and cheapest, depending on how you want to look at it. A lot of times folks are starting out and they're like, well, I want to get this because I want it to last me a long time. And let me propose an alternate viewpoint on that, to say, Don't get something that's going to last for a long time, because the odds are you picking exactly what's going to be best for you long term in your novice state is not very high. Better to pick something that might be considered disposable and go with that. For example, I think a good little camera for a studio, a church, or a sports production just starting out is the Canon Vixia HFR 800. You can buy it refurb from Canon for, what, $250. You can buy it on eBay for $150, and it has a mini HDMI out, and is a good little picture. No, the screen is tiny. No, it doesn't pan, tilt, or zoom automatically. No, you can't put a link controller on it. No, you can't do 1,000 things with it. And yes, eventually the little HDMI connection will come loose inside the camera. I've had it happen to me on 2 of them. But it's a great little camera to kind of get you through until the point where you either are making money, if that's what you want to do, or you know that you're willing to invest more money, that this is a hobby or a semi-professional gig that you want to get into, or that you can do a cost justification with the powers to be at the church or the school or wherever, and say, okay, now we know this thing works. This does what we want it to do. We're getting people to watch. We're engaging people. We're creating buzz and excitement with people. We're furthering our reach. Now you can go back and say, okay, now, and you also have the experience of saying, golly gee, I wish the camera was this shape, and so it can fit in this corner of the room instead of this shape, because it only fits in that corner of the room. You know more about what you need to know. And it's one of those things when you're starting out, you don't know what you don't know. And that's a big category. And the idea is to shrink that category so that you now begin to have an idea of what it is you don't know. And you can go find out the answers to those questions. So there you go. That's my diatribe on that. Oh, Jan got a deal on the X keys at IBC. The GOAT sometimes sells demo units when they're not looking. Oh my goodness. Jan says, yes, if you can duck one under customs, tolls, and taxes, you can save a fortune shopping with Tom. If unlucky, you pay price plus shipping plus 25% toll plus 25% value-added tax plus handling fee. That still shouldn't come out to $311. That's good stuff. Anyway, so the reason for my diatribe was to say, if you know somebody getting started out, I would be delighted to help them steer them to the right equipment. If it's stuff we sell, great. If it's stuff that we don't sell, that's fine too. A lot of people like to start with the Cam Link because they can get one for $100 or something like that and plug their camera into it. Eventually, they find that maybe that's not the best thing for them long term, but they've only got $100 invested in it, and they can resell it on eBay for $75 and make somebody else a big deal, and basically they've rented it for a year for $25. There you go. Zombie Warrior is an idiot. Welcome. Glad to have you. You're in the company of the best quality idiots you will find. Rich says, any news on the Bird Dogs P100? I haven't heard anything on the street, Rich. I've had a number of people that are ready to get them. The price point is certainly, we're talking about a 1080p, I think 60, but it may only be 30, PTZ camera that is PoE and NDI, and not just NDI HX, but the full boat NDI for $1,000. It's probably more than that now. I think the Chinese tariffs have bumped up the P200 by a couple $300. So I would expect the P100, if it's coming out and selling, will be $175 more, something like that, just a guess. But we will be at IBC with the Bird Dog folks right next door to us, and so I will be trying to find out from Eamon and Dan whatever I can on the P100 and the other things that were announced a while back. And Tyler Andrews is here. Welcome, Tyler. Glad to have you. For those of you that don't know, Tyler is from Texas, and he's a COE of POA Texas, an electrical engineer, and a real genius when it comes to all things POE. You want to catch his show. I think Tyler, if you can, go ahead and put a link to your show, or if the group, excuse me, if YouTube is rejecting links, just put in the name of your show, and when it comes out. And y'all want to take a peek at that, because he certainly knows his POE stuff. Marie says, is that a solo cup? It is indeed a solo cup, and I would show you, but I would have to pour it out in order to show you that it has lemonade in it. But I guess it could have anything plus lemonade, but it does have just only lemonade. And contrary to the American movie scene, they can contain just about anything. There's no licensure required to put something else in the cup. Very good. Very, very good. I asked Tyler a question a while back if there was a way, and this is a crazy question, but is there a way, if you have an Ethernet cable coming to you from a switch somewhere, and that cable happens to contain PoE, power over Ethernet, is there a way to take the PoE out? And I had a situation where I had a cable coming from a switch somewhere, and there we go, converged PoE first and third Tuesdays. Thank you, Tyler Andrews. So the situation was, I had a PTC Optics camera that we had we had it wired into, or we had it plugged into an electrical outlet, and the electrical outlet was controlled by a switch. So when we turned the switch on, the camera came on. When we turned the switch off, the camera went off. The reason for that was that we wanted the camera to start live streaming when the switch went on and start live streaming when it went off, because the camera has the ability to stream from inside the camera. It's got an encoder built in. And then we were just buffaloed, because it's like, you plug it in and the camera's live all the time. What's the deal? And as it turned out, we thought maybe the switch was wired wrong, or the outlet that the camera was plugged into was wired wrong. But no, instead, it was the Ethernet cable had power over Ethernet. And eventually, we got the IT department to cut the power on the Ethernet cable. But in the meantime, Tyler, I found out if I will take your PoE injector, just a single injector, and plug in the source, and plug in my case, the camera, and then not plug the injector into power, it takes the power out. So there's a little trick on the fly you can use if you're in a jam and need to get PoE off of a line. You can do that. But Tyler has assured me that there's a way that's probably far more appealing to electrical engineers. Frank says, is there another option than Sportscast for bringing in scoreboard data into vMix? There are lots of options, Frank, and there are a lot of folks that purport to have options for that. But suffice to say, you can learn how to take all that data and put it in a format that vMix can see it, or you can pay for what Sportscast has got. They're the optical character readers that you can point a camera at the scoreboard, and it'll capture the time and the scores. Some of those are I guess they're worth a look, but to have something that works every time, all the time, and doesn't require setup every time, just requires plugging in. The Sportscast score link is the best. It just plugs in USB to your PC, and then you plug in a 1/4 inch cable into that comes from the controller, and all the data that's in the controller is available in vMix at that point. There you go. Tyler says, yes, you could use a PoE splitter that takes the PoE off. Indeed. All right, Marie says, perhaps we are lucky with the scoreboard system being ready for streaming. Yeah, you probably are. And Tyler says, yes, an injector would block a PoE signal. There you go. There you go. Yeah, it's interesting though, Frank. I think what we're going to find is things like the good folks at Sportscast, because we represent them. Um, they worked hard to figure out all this stuff, and there are dozens of different sports venue control types out there. I just found out one the other day that's sold in the rodeo industry just for rodeo. And it does all the statistics that you want to do for calf roping and barrel racing and all that kind of stuff. And the folks at Sportscast have gone in and found out how to interpret all that data and pass it through so that it can be displayed in vMix. But to my knowledge, they're the only ones doing it, and so they get to set the price because they're the only ones doing it. If you or if you knew someone else that had the ability to go in and do that, there would be a market for a competitor there. Competition. The folks at Sportscast may disagree, and I probably would if I were them. But competition is good. It forces people to be sharper, to work harder, to be better, and sometimes that means to work on their pricing too. Yeah. Let's see. Tyler Andrews says, by the way, y'all, Tom gave me excellent advice personally and through his shows on fixing our audio setup. Well, good. I'm glad that worked for you. Byron says the light has changed and the background looks great. Oh, I haven't had it on that screen. Let's take a look. Let's see what we can see. Yeah, there we go. Well, now I'm dark. Now I'm not. How did I get dark? I should have gotten lighter as the background behind me got lighter. Darker. Let's see if we can fix that in just a second. But yes, we did go from full sun to, I would say pretty strongly overcast. Let's see what we can do with the exposure. There we go. We'll leave that there. And that, of course, who was it? I was watching a show one time, and people were bragging that they had the ability to use natural light, and that their studio was positioned so that they could take advantage of natural light. And my thought to myself was, you don't want natural light because, maybe I'm just a control freak, but you can't control natural light. Natural light is different at different times of day, like 10 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock in the morning, depending on if you have a western exposure or eastern exposure or southern exposure. I mean, it's best to have 100% control over everything. Now, if you're doing things outdoors, like sports, yeah, frequently when we did soccer, we would start with daylight and end in the darkness, and that was back when I was stupid, more stupid than I am now, and we had all the cameras set on auto, and so they just adjusted as best they could. Not that they were great, and they were those Canon Vixia cameras, and in fact I still have a few of them that I use every now and then. Well, gang, I liked hanging out with you today. I'll be back in the studio next week for a regular show, and I believe we have Mike Benke with Panimation coming on. Panimation, Mike is the one that has written that software that has the telestrator in it, and so we'll talk about using the telestrator, especially with instant replay, and try to kind of make those two go together. So we'll work on that some next week. If you've got some questions about that, shoot them to me, and we'll make sure Mike gets them, or just tune in and ask him yourself. He's a nice guy. Otis is here. Otis, glad you're here. Sorry we missed you at the beginning of the show, but that's better than not at all. Dave, glad to have you. And if I can help you in any way, you can reach me, easternshorebroadcasting.com, easternshorebroadcasting.com. There's a contact page there. Shoot me a note, and I will get back to you. And Marie says, now your skin and t-shirt are the same color. Well, Marie, believe it or not, they're close. So there we go. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next week. Have a great week. And yeah, we'll let you go out. We'll let the stream go out with a little bit of music, and this says starting soon, but it's really not. Okay, there we go.